Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Just Writes TV. I am Nicole Denise and you are tuned in for something special today. So today I want to talk about tapping into the sacred space of writing. Now, I'm going to try to make this episode as practical as possible as I deal with kind of abstract ideas. So I want to tell you about the concept of where this actual episode of She Just Writes TV came from. I woke up this morning and I had this playing of a phrase in my mind, and it said, "It's never what you think, but it's always what you know." And I was like, what does that mean? Huh? And it's never what you think, but it's always what you know. And then as I got in the shower, I meditated, I marinated on that phrase that I kept hearing. It finally dawned on me, and I had this epiphany, this aha moment, this revelation, have you. And I wanted to come to you and talk to you about that sacred space of writing. So when it comes to writing, there are two sides of the equation. There's the mechanic side of writing, where you talk about the technicalities like punctuation and grammar and syntax and, you know, how to build characters and how to make your writing better and editing and all of that kind of thing like that, the technical part of writing. But then on the other side, which is the more depth to writing, there is the knowing that comes with being a writer, knowing when you hear something that you're supposed to write and then actually transcribing it onto paper or into a computer, and then knowing the impact that it's going to have on the world. Or even if you don't understand the full capacity, you know it's something that you have to get out of yourself, you have to allow to flow through you and onto paper. So that's what the part I want to talk about today, and that is that sacred space in writing that I want to talk about, and I want to talk more about how to tap into that. So for me, I've been a writer since I can remember. I've always been an avid reader. I've always had collections of books: The Babysitter's Club, Sweet Valley High, The Boxcar Kids, R.L. Stein's Fear Street. Those are what I grew up on, and I was just always entranced by wordplay. Like, how did somebody know how to take these words and make them into an actual story? It blew my mind. I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to do that. And then it was funny because once I got into, you know, past the primary school and into secondary school or middle school and high school, I hated English. I thought it was boring. I thought it was dreadful. And it was mainly because in those classes you only learned the mechanics of writing, and they didn't allow you to explore, you know, what freely came from you. So it wasn't until I got to undergrad and changed my major like 3 or 4 times until I finally got into the English department that I realized that writing was something that I could actually see myself doing for the rest of my life. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to profit from it or make money from it or make a living from it, but I just knew in the depths of my knowing that writing was something that I was put here on earth to do. So as I matured and as I continued to write, I realized that there were some steps that I could take to be able to tap into that knowing that I'm going to talk to you about today. So here are some of the things I do, and this is not a collective of the 1, 2, 3 steps to tap into your sacred space. Every writer has her own way of doing this, but this is more of kind of letting you know that writing is sacred and it should be considered as such. Just like music has the power to branch different lifestyles and opinions and, you know, universal thought, writing has that same effect. Like, when you tap into that, it becomes universal truth for everybody. So again, I'm trying to make sure I stay practical and give you practical tips for something that may seem kind of abstract. So the first thing that I do is that I just remain open. I remain open to the flow of my writing. As it comes, I write it. That can be any and everywhere. I constantly, if you see me, I am a journal fanatic. Like, I always have something to write in, and I don't have to have like these formal journals. I write on the back of envelopes all the time. time. I write on the back of gum wrappers. I write in my phone on the notes app. Like, I am constantly writing as I hear something that could possibly spark something else. Like, I am constantly writing because I'm always remaining open. And that's one thing that the writer has to do in order to tap into her sacred space. She has to remain open. And then the second thing I do is that when I hear the things, or hear the phrases, or hear the ideas, or the inspiration, or whatever name you want to call it, I make sure that I stand in a non-judgmental place. This took some practice and this took some maturing on my part, because sometimes there were things that I would hear that I wouldn't necessarily say or be for, so to speak, in my waking life, but that the words were still flowing through me, and I had to still allow those words to hit the paper. Like, I consider myself literally just the vessel who the words happens to flow through. So I remain non-judgmental. And so, for example, I give you an even better example. I have started writing fiction, and I usually do not write fiction. I'm always, you know, doing non-fiction books, but I started writing fiction, and I heard this character, and this character, she is very twisted, kind of demented, a little bit off. She curses, her mouth is foul, and I'm in love with her story. I don't know who this character is. I've already started writing. I've probably got 15 pages about the opening scenes of her life and what she's getting ready to go through, but in my waking life, I'm not twisted or demented or, you know, like she is, like all over the place. So before, I wouldn't have been able to write that type of story, because I would have assumed that that was a reflection on me as a person. But no, I have learned that I am just the writer, and I have to remain in a non-judgmental zone when I hear certain words pass through me, because I am merely, like I said, the vessel. Second, I just have to remain willing. That goes in the same part of being open and non-judgmental. I have to remain willing to write the word. Like, I consider what I do the same thing as what the disciples did when they wrote the Bible. I considered what I do the same things as what other inspired people wrote when they wrote inspired texts, the Quran and the Torah and whatever else that you might believe in that is sacred text. Like, I consider what I do the same way, and these people didn't know what they were creating, but they knew that they had to get it out of them, and that's what it is. They were able to tap into that sacred space to get those words that became well known for eons beyond, you know, their life, but their words lived on forever. So another thing I do is that I don't talk about the idea or the beginnings of words or phrases that I start to hear until I've fully developed or written out or had the full story come to me. Because I found out that what happens is, if I, like, even if it's just something harmless like calling a friend and say, hey, I got this great idea for a story, like, I'll tell them the parts that I heard, and then immediately something inside of me cuts off. It's just like, okay, that story's done. It's like my mind tells itself that, okay, since you've already shared it, then the story's over with, so it's no need for me to finish the story. It's the craziest thing, but I have learned that I have to remain quiet and I have to sit with the story before I actually go out and tell other people about it. So that's something that I do to remain in the sacred space of writing. And finally, I am open to sharing when the time is right. So I don't share prematurely, but when the time is right, I am open to sharing the word that was given to me, because I am of the mindset and of the understanding that what is sacred to me can also be sacred to other people and can also help people. So I think it's a message. The message may flow through me, but I always think that it's a message for the masses or the majority, or for people, maybe just one person that needs to hear it. So ladies, I hope that I made sense as I was speaking today, because like I said, this can be kind of like a woo-woo abstract kind of subject, but it was something that was really impressed on me to speak about today in this episode of She Just Writes TV. If you've ever experienced of anything like possibly what I was saying, leave your comments in the comment section below, because I would love to hear from you and how you tap into that sacred space of writing, or even if you ever thought about writing as being a sacred practice. So until next time, if there's anything that you would like for me to talk about, again, leave your comments in the comment section below and we will talk about it. I will create an episode specifically just for you, because I care about the things that you care about. So until next time, you have tuned in to She Just Writes TV. Bye.